Supervisor Williams?
So the county has been working on mapping, getting the data entry that West Company did from the property surveys that were sent out into a GIS map. And I think Jeff may have the file. We could probably share it here in a moment. We're planning to make more changes to it. I've been looking at the best algorithm for connecting the dots. Try not to use too much staff time, but to give us polygons instead of the plots we have today. But the good news is we have far more real data from across the county. I think it's a fairly good sampling. And once we connect those dots, we should be able to see the overlay of where we have development, houses and businesses relative to where we have coverage. And so this is especially important to give back to our federal partners who've been for decades going off maps that are inaccurate. We now have accurate maps.
If everything is working correctly, you should have some partial visibility to those maps.
We're looking at it now.
Good.
And so if you want to scroll down to the bottom where we can see the legend. Yeah, so the blue is developed parcels. Unfortunately, the county doesn't have a layer for development, and so we've applied a filter to assume that assessments over a certain amount represent development. It's mostly accurate. For our purposes, we think it's accurate enough. So where you see blue, that should be development. And then if you go back down to that legend, the red, the no service, is of particular concern. This is where we have, if you look at where there's blue up against red, that's development that doesn't have any cell service. And then the second map is similar, only it's covering not cell service, but DSL, fiber, cable. One second. Hey, Darcy. Hey, good. Are you trying to dial in? Oh, okay. I'll let them know. Darcy's having trouble getting in.
Okay, I've sent her.
They're sending you the link. We're about halfway.
I sent the link several times from admin at Broadband Alliance, so maybe it's caught in a spam filter.
Okay, she's This is getting back to, wouldn't it be nice if the county had Gmail? So that second map, can you scroll down a little bit more? That's also
yes, I can.
Maybe it's the this one's broken down to highlight high-speed data, which we probably need to change the colors. But the idea of this map is to show where cell service can be used for broadband. I think this one is especially important now that we have kids working, learning from home, because a lot of them that don't have fixed landline broadband may have cell coverage, but that cell coverage isn't necessarily high speed, not high enough to do Zoom and other digital classrooms.
Is that a map that could be shared with district superintendents?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Michelle has offered to give us a little bit more data to include on the next revision of the map to show the school district boundaries, which are surveyed with the percentage of students believed to be offline. And it may be useful to juxtapose that with coverage to see, are we making use of the coverage we actually have? Either it'll contradict or it'll back the broadband availability mapping. Either way, it'll be a useful data point. And then this is the one that I think really matters at the bottom, where we have high speed, and this should be fixed broadband. Mm-hmm. And the next phase, we're going to look at where we have AT&T FirstNet, because as we've discussed, we were expecting 99% coverage. We know we're nowhere near that. Looking at the aggregate of all cell availability, FirstNet will be a much smaller footprint because it's AT&T only. And I think that's probably the map that will be most useful for Jared Huffman, trying to advocate for follow through on the 2012 Congress, the contract by Congress where $12 billion was paid to AT&T to provide 99% coverage of landmass. The other direction that we're pursuing is Starlink. Jeff has been able to initiate those calls after I began and got called to COVID. Starlink is quickly moving forward. They're adding about 60 satellites every 2 weeks. I think last week there were 480 satellites. I wanted to pursue getting a demo units, even on loan for a short time, so that we could show, say in places like Comshare Covelo, that we could have broadband as good as the areas covered by a Comcast cable. Unfortunately, the satellites are not orbiting over us yet. I think the line for coverage is about 48, 49 degrees. And of course, we're at about 38 and change. And so it may be some time, but Starlink is estimating service for the end of the year. I think this will be a game changer in Mendocino County because it'll be 100 megabits down, 25 megabits up, and under 30 milliseconds latency. Definitely competing with DSL and a lot of places competing with cable service for about $80 per month. One of the directions we'd like to pursue is trying to work with Starlink to see if we could get a special pricing package for the county, but specifically for kids who may be across the digital divide and trying to do distance learning in the next year to 18 months. I think it would be good PR for them, and maybe there's an opportunity to work on a pricing model for Mendocino County. But this is a game changer in that broadband will be everywhere, no matter what other projects move forward. And 100 megabits down, I would be tempted to drop my Comcast service and switch to Starlink and be able to take it on the road, knowing that if I'm halfway between the coast and Ukiah, I have the same service as at home. Right. So that's particularly exciting. I think as soon as there is coverage at our latitude, we will start looking at the availability of a demo unit.
That's cool.
Thank you, Ted.